I stepped off an elevator. I had a backpack full of beer, and I had my bass. And our guitar player was like, "Hey, man, we're having a jam. We need a bass player." And I walked around the corner, and basically there was like most of what would become the String Dusters having this jam. And I just played music with them for like 3 hours.
Welcome to episode 61 of the Bass Shed Podcast. My name's Ryan Roberts. Twenty twenty two. We're doing that. We're doing that one now, huh? Happy New Year, everybody. My collection of soul bass lines is now available at thebassshed.com. Soul Volume 1 is focused on Motown and Memphis. Over in Motown, we had James Jamerson and Bob Babbitt. Over in Memphis, we had Donald Duck Dunn and Tommy Cogbill. Iconic bass lines, and I do a deep dive. I do a deep dive on each of their styles, on each of the bass lines, the construction, theme and variation, feel, all of it. I really do a deep dive on each transcription. Each transcription is available in standard notation and tab. There's practice tracks available. Stop by thebassshed.com and dig into Soul Volume 1. In other news, I have a record coming out. It should be out very shortly, and I will talk more about that as it gets closer. You can read more about the record at ryanrobertsbass.com. That is my personal website. There I have more information about the record and the material that's on it, and just kind of, how the songs came up. And basically, I did a podcast interview with myself, more or less. And I talk about the music that's on the record. So you can check that out at ryanrobertsbass.com. The record is titled Smile. Everything you need for the double bass can be found at lemurmusic.com. I stopped into Lemur Music about a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, and picked up a practice bib. Upright players, you know what those are. The proceeds of the practice bibs go to support music education for those with special needs. I think it's absolutely wonderful how involved Lemur Music is with the community and supporting music education. Stop by lemurmusic.com. Everything you need for the double bass. Trickfishamps.com. I personally play the Trilobite, which is the 2-channel preamp. AB box. I take it to all my gigs. I absolutely love it. I bring it to gigs even when I'm not doubling. So if I'm playing just acoustic or if I'm playing just electric, it still comes with me. I absolutely love the preamp. Stop by trickfishamps.com. Use the code TheBassShed, all one word, for 10% off at trickfishamps.com. Tsunami Cables, hands down the best cables on the market. Stop by Tsunami Cables, check out their product line. They have instrument cables, speaker cables. They also have the V15 preamp. Stop by Tsunami Cables, use the promo code TheBassShed, all one word, for 10% off. All right, on the show today is Travis Book. Travis Book is the bassist for the infamous String Dusters. I love the band name. I love the band name, the infamous String Dusters. I like how they put the modifier in there. Travis and I discuss the band name and how and when the modifier got added. The String Dusters have a new album coming out February 18th, 2022, titled Toward the Fray. And Travis is going to speak about not only the band and the history of the band and how the band came about, but he's also going to speak about the new record and how maybe fans of the band, what they can expect to hear on this new record and where a lot of the music came from. And towards the end of my talk here with Travis, we get a little philosophical maybe, and we really start kicking around some ideas about the nature of art in society. I loved that the conversation went there, in addition to hearing about the inner workings of the band. I don't know. I had a great time talking to him. We talk about that. We talk about the nature of playing bass in a bluegrass group. Talk about that too. It's a fantastic talk. And we covered a lot of ground. And here is my talk with Travis Book.
Travis, how you doing? Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Can
you
hear
loud
me?
And clear. Yes, I can. What's going on with that mic? I like that mic. What is that?
These are these funky mics. ear trumpet.
Ear trumpet. I'm into
Yeah,
it.
they're wild. They make them out of all like parts you can just buy at the hardware store.
That's cool.
And they have like these are the ones for instruments, but they have these big ones that are made for like singing in. You know,
Okay.
they're like these massive contraptions. They look really old school.
Huh. Sweet.
They're awesome. Yeah.
Dude, how you doing? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah. Right.
Happy New Year. Yeah, like day by day.
Exactly. What'd you get into New Year's Eve?
New Year's Eve, usually like for years I've been playing a show. Always play a show.
Sure.
And this year we didn't play a show.
Okay.
On account of, precautionary measures around the
Sure.
ongoing crises.
Yeah.
And so I just went out to dinner with friends.
Amazing.
And it was awesome.
Yeah, I know.
11:30 and asleep by 12:15, and
Right. You just get to be a normal person. You don't have to be a musician. It's fantastic.
it's fun not like having to sort of shoulder all of the meaning and anticipation that the fan or the ticket buyer puts on the experience on New Year's Eve.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's not the same as just playing a show on a Friday in
Sure.
April. It's a whole thing, and everybody brings all their own baggage to it and all these expectations, and it makes for incredible potential for a lot of energy.
Sure.
But it also, it's a much more elevated situation. There's a lot more layers out there.
Man, I think across the board this New Year's Eve, like I was playing with the R&B bands that night, and it just felt like a kind of a normal Saturday night. Like it didn't have the New Year's Eve rage energy to it at all. Like there's just like, okay, this is kind of a boring Saturday night. It I've been talking to other friends about where they were at and where they were playing, and like, yeah, kind of across the board, man. Like no one had that energy that's normal on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, I think we've learned our lesson now after a couple of years. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I think people's enthusiasm is a little tempered.
Yeah,
just in general.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Man, you got a new record coming out. I do want to talk about that. The infamous String Dusters. Let me make sure I get the name of your band right.
It's a mouthful, man. Oof. It's a mouthful.
I'm captivated by the infamous.
Yeah, well, we started the band, and naming a band even 15 years ago was really hard.
Yeah.
There's even fewer names now.
Yeah. Right.
Because there's more bands all the time.
Yeah.
And so we kind of arrived on the idea of calling the band the String Dusters. It was a suggestion of the guitar player's dad, who was a banjo player. And we were like, oh yeah, that's cool, that'll work. And then we realized there was another band. It was like a group of old people who were like hobbyists, and they played like this kind of willowish, like old-timey kind of music with like hammer dulcimer and stuff.
Okay.
Northeast, that were already called the String Dusters. And so in order to sign a record contract, we had to have a name that was distinctively ours.
Sure.
So we went round and round and round and round and round about what to modify it with, whatever. String Dusters, and decided infamous.
I like it.
It's taken us a long time to grow into it, but we're slowly earning.
Okay, so before the record contract, was it just the String Dusters? Were you just kind of like working little clubs? Okay. Because
we started the band in Nashville.
Okay.
And so when we were like getting the repertoire together, working on our new record, playing shows out, we were just String Dusters.
Yeah. Okay. Because that's one of the things I thought of
to help us.
Is like the infamous String Dusters. By the way, this is our first gig, so
it doesn't make any sense. It'll the older we get, the more it works.
Well, I feel like the fact that you were already string dusting previously, then Indeed. Now you can be infamous. Like you'd already spent some time.
All of us in the band have been dusting strings, so to speak, for a really long time. Exactly. We'd all been picking, as we like to call it. We'd all played a hell of a lot of music before we started the band. So
okay, so you're a founding member.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we started the band in 2005.
Okay, and what was how did it form? Was it just a bunch of buddies that were playing together, like, yeah, we should turn this into a thing? Or was it a little bit more organized with a kind of a vision and a career path and all that?
It was a little more organized. Just about everybody in the band was playing with and for other artists in various capacities, essentially as sidemen.
Yeah.
We had like our dobro player was in Dolly Parton's band at
Oh,
the
wow.
time, which was hilarious.
He sounds great, by the way.
He's an incredible musician, Andy Hall. He's just such a deep player and such a wonderful guy. So he was in Dolly Parton's band. You know, our banjo player was playing with Drew Emmett and Billy Nershi from Leftover Salmon and String Cheese Incident. And they had, like, acoustic side project. You know, we were kind of all over the place doing stuff with other people, and kind of got and had some sort of loose affiliations and loose friendships, and sort of caught whiff of the fact that, you know, as long as you're working for somebody else in somebody else's band, you're not making your own music, and you are also sort of you're subject to the winds of change, as it were.
Indeed.
And that really works for a lot of people, and I love playing for other people. Still, I love taking on that role of being a supporting musician, but that's something we all had in common, is we wanted to make our own music.
Sure.
And call our own shots and be our own band of bros. We started our own bro band.
Great.
Basically.
Great.
Ripping bluegrass.
Yeah.
You know? And it's and over 15 years we've sort of developed a sound and a style that is, you know, continuing to expand, and we just kind of play our own brand of music that's basically derivative of bluegrass, but we use these traditional stringed instruments to sort of explore the sort of possibility. What other sort of musical styles, what other kind of we can incorporate, and, you know, not having a drummer makes that a real collaborative experience, you know, basically playing rhythm together, making things feel like something that people want to dance to and you know, resonates with them.
Man, specifically on that topic, you guys covered "What's Going On" by Marvin Gaye. And so when I saw that,
of all time.
I saw that come up. I'm like, oh man, I got to check this out. And I'm like, yeah, this is killing. I'm into it.
Yeah, it's a weird thing with the bluegrass instruments. You know, there's this sort of like 2-beat bluegrass that we're all real familiar with, the boom chick, and the music was really designed that way by Bill Monroe. The instruments work well that way, but it turns out, you know, you can also create all kinds of, you can play rhythm. You're playing music is all rhythm. And so once you sort of start to free your mind a little bit, it's really interesting to see how you can make what's going on sounds like when you apply it using just these stringed instruments.
Right. No, it's really cool. I'm interested, what's your history as a bass player? Like, when did you pick up the bass? Did you play electric? You know, on the newest record, the single is Towards the Fray. That's the name of the song and the record. Yep. You're playing arco on that. You're playing with the bow all the way through. Do you have a lot of classical training as well?
I have no classical training, and just barely with the bow. But it's such an interesting part of one of the coolest things about playing upright is being able to express yourself both with the bow and also, you know, with the fingers, plucking with the fingers. I got into playing bass. There was a group of friends that were starting a rock band when we were like 12 or 13 years old, you know, and I like to sing, and so I was singing, and we didn't have a bass player. And so my mom was always in rock bands growing up. She was in another roadside attraction. And they just played like, you know, they played like folk rock circuit. They play like every other Saturday night down at the local bar. She was like, heck yeah. I was like, I need a bass for this band. And she said, I'll get you a bass. You'll always have a gig. And she was right. It's essentially sort of how it started. I got an electric bass and played rock music. And then I was poking around playing with some friends in a band, playing electric music. And that band broke up. And one of the guys was like, hey, have you ever played bluegrass? He was from Georgia. And so I kind of got roped into the bluegrass scene. And one of the things that really grabbed me about playing acoustic music, playing the upright bass, I started with like Tacoma Thunder Chief. You know, and I actually started out like flat picking that thing and playing a style that was very metal. It was like ding 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 ding. That was like the style that I sort of developed. Just out of like ignorance, just not even knowing what to do. It was like a 3-piece, like it was almost like metal grass. Mandolin, guitar, and me playing Thunder Chief. Really cool.
I'm into it.
But then I got turned on to upright. Someone came to a show and was like, look, man, if you're gonna play bluegrass, you gotta have an upright. It's like that's the only way it's gonna sound right. and he loaned me one, and I got into playing that, and I loved the thing I loved about acoustic and bluegrass music and sort of even like the folk scene was that there was all this shared lexicon of
Yes.
songs that you could play and you could sing the harmonies on the chorus, and then and you could do it anywhere. You could do it outside. You know, I was like a hippie kid living in southern Colorado, and so I loved going to festivals and not wearing any shoes and drinking and staying up all night and just playing music, just playing. I loved it. It was just like the best context for a party was to play bluegrass music and hang out and play this music and share the space with people. So that kind of became the thing in my 20s, and then it was just saying yes to gigs, really, like the better band in town, and then the better band in town, and then I crossed paths with some guys who were a little bit more motivated and really had a decent instinct for trying to make it go. One of those guys was Anders Beck, who's in this band called Green Sky Bluegrass, and we were friends. We sort of started up playing bluegrass at the same time in Durango, Colorado, and then it was just kind of a matter of just saying yes to the good gigs and good gigs coming my way.
That's a sound I don't equate with Colorado, but a friend of mine who is in the Colorado Symphony up there, if I remember correctly, they teach it at college. They teach bluegrass bass in colleges up there now, which I thought was fascinating.
I'm not surprised.
And it's the fact that they teach it is kind of interesting to me. Like, can you get a semester out of that?
No. No.
I mean, so much of that music, it's specifically for bass. And I've listened to a lot of bluegrass. I kind of fell into it maybe backwards through Bela Fleck and some of those records he did with Edgar Meyer, and then like Newgrass Revival, then got into some other stuff. But it's like, okay, it's just all about that feel, just like that feel, and I think the bluegrass bass player is, I don't know about stronger than anybody else, but you have nobody you're generating all that by yourself without any other kind of drummer to lean on or percussion player. It's everybody just locking in, you know, like you got maybe a mando player doing the 2 and 4, you know, muted thing, and you're locking into that. Yeah. But you got to be just so rock solid and have this big sound and just generated with the beat right on top. I love it.
It's funny you say, you're like, can you teach a semester of that?
Yeah.
And the answer is no. But what's funny is you can make a life, you can take a lifetime mastering it.
Absolutely.
Because it is so simple to get going and to be able, and that's what's so cool about bluegrass bass in particular, is you get a lot of people who it can be very simple music for that person. You can really just play 1 5 1 5, and you work on sort of how the note starts and where it stops, and that can be about it, you know.
Yeah.
But it is also one of those things, and you know, Victor Wooten will tell you, it's like it takes a lifetime to master, and the guys who are the best at it. You know, there's a guy named Dennis Crouch who's a Nashville bass player.
Okay.
He plays with just about everybody. He plays with the one place I would see him when I was living there, I go down and see him at the Station Inn playing with this band called the Time Jumpers. And Vince Gill plays guitar in the Time Jumpers.
Oh, wow.
It's
still like currently?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
and
wow.
Yeah, like he joined it just in the last few years. It's this amazing old school kind of country swing, bluegrass kind of fiddle music kind of thing.
Sure.
And it's all this sort of similar kind of somewhat fundamental and basic music. But what really struck me about him was that every song, while the whole repertoire was very similar, much like a bluegrass band playing bluegrass, every single song, he had a distinctly different approach to the way that he was playing the instrument, the way that he was tying phrases together, the note shape, the note length, the way that it was swinging relative to the other players. Every song really, it could have all sounded the same.
Sure.
And a lot of people actually probably didn't even really nobody, you know how we are. It's like there's only a few of us in the room. Now it's Nashville, so there's a lot of bass dorks there. But there's only a few of us in the room that are like, holy shit, all night long Dennis Crouch has been just crushing it, and the nuance in his playing, even when it's just like, you know, 2-beat, boom, 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 you know, and it's there's some richness there. And, you know,
I agree.
And when you're talking about a string band too, you know, it is so collaborative. It's not like the drum and the bass thing, which is a whole thing. And I love playing electric and playing with drummers in that context. It is a completely different animal than that bluegrass ensemble, because if you have a mandolin player, and you're playing 2-beat, you can just kind of go, all right, the two of us are going to create this feel. We're going to get the downbeat and the offbeat feeling right, and it'll swing about how we like it, and then everybody else will play on top of it. But without the mandolin, or in a more dynamic situation, like in our band, we've got a dobro chopping, we've got a fiddle that's playing all kinds of like hi-hat and snare related stuff. You've got a guitar that's also playing really rhythmic style. Dobro can chop. Banjo does a variety of things. When it's rolling, it's just subdividing in eighth notes. But you can get those instruments all working the different pieces of the drum kit, and it can almost be like it's like a percussion section of the band that also is making melodic statements too at the same time. And so that's why a string band ensemble can be like an incredibly rich and dynamic situation to be playing in, because if the dusters are hitting and if we're all on point, man, we can be shifting between, you know, we can start just out of nowhere, start swinging hard, or start playing in 3, or shift to like a downbeat kind of like heavy rock groove, right back into bluegrass, into like a reggae beat or country swing. You can move between all these things just like you would if you were a hip ensemble with drums. You can do the same thing. You just have to have all 5 guys do it
on board. Yeah.
Like we can't go to reggae if you're going to keep playing bluegrass.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the one guy, it's like one piece of the drum kit's not swinging.
Sure. Right.
So, you know, it makes it the potential is incredible, but everybody has to pay really, really close attention. You know, you can't just lean on the drummer.
Right. Okay. So then you pick up the upright and you're kind of coming up the ladder in Durango. When was the move to Nashville?
I ran into the guys in the String Dusters at this big convention we've got, the IBMA, International Bluegrass Music Association convention, where it's like the end of the year party where we all get together. There's an awards, there's like showcases for new bands who are coming up, and we all just used to be in Louisville in this place called the Galt House, 2 towers, and the place would pop off 24 hours a day for a week, just raging bluegrass, jamming on every floor in every room, insane amounts of music, beer, just raging. And I stepped off an elevator, I had a backpack full of beer, and I had my bass, and our guitar player was like, hey man, we're having a jam, we need a bass player. And I walked around the corner, and basically there was like most of what would become the String Dusters having this jam, and I just played music with them for like 3 hours, because, you know, we all know the same shit. And if we don't, we can teach it to each other. If you got a good ear, you just pay attention. And it comes pretty quickly, and you're jamming, and it's cooking, you know, and you're watching each other shred, and it's really fun. Being a bass player in a great bluegrass ensemble is just a good seat to have. Jam. Sweet. You know, get to watch everybody rip. Right. And then after that, they ended up calling me because they could not find the right bass player to be sort of they're assembling the String Dusters, and they kind of remembered that we had a good jam, and so they flew me out and auditioned me, and I somehow passed the audition. Nice. And got in the band sort of as we were completing the first record and as we were starting to tour. Okay. What year was that again? That was like the fall of 2005 when I moved to Nashville. Okay. So this is like right as the band is forming. Like right as the band is formed. Yeah. There basically they had done like 2 shows and had recorded about 6 tracks in the studio before I got there. Okay. And before we really got the thing off the ground. And then, you know, we spent years in a blue conversion van with a little trailer. Doing it, just grinding it out, right? Sleeping on floors and hustling, you know, going to Colorado because that's where the weed was good, and that's where the shows. There's hippies out there that love bluegrass, and that was where we had, you know, we go places we could crash on floors. We go to Virginia a lot because the guitar player's dad had a place there. We'd go to outside the city because our banjo player's parents had a place there. We go stay with my parents in Colorado. We just hustled. Did you make the full-time, when you joined the band, did you make the full-time move to Nashville? Yeah, I moved out to Nashville. And slept in my truck in one of the guys' driveways for like 5 months, and you know, worked odd jobs, but basically jumped right into just playing music and making it work. And, did you pick up some sideman work around Nashville, or was you just in the band and that's the focus? It was really limited for me, the amount of side work stuff that I was really kind of in over my head. And not really able to do the hustle. Okay. You know? it's a really intense scene there.
I've never been.
And it's, you know, the music can be like, it can just feel kind of competitive, um and everybody is better than you. You know, everybody's better than you.
Yeah.
And when you're playing bass too, it's like the guitar player is probably better than me
Right.
at bass, you know? So I didn't do a ton of work there. I do some sessions. I'd play some gigs.
Okay.
It wasn't until I left Nashville that I started to really explore doing things outside of the String Dusters more.
How long were you in Nashville then before you left?
Probably 6 or 7 years.
Okay. 05, so what, puts it at 2011?
2011, then I moved out to Virginia and was in Central Virginia outside Charlottesville for a little bit. And that was
Okay.
2 or 3 years there. And then I've been down here in Brevard, North Carolina, which is south and west of Asheville.
Okay.
For like 6-8 years. And we've got a great 7 years. I don't know. I lose track of time. We've got a really good music scene down here. It's a very small town, but proximity to Asheville is really good. And there's some other established bands around town. Jeff Sipe is a legendary drummer, Aquarium Rescue Unit and Leftover Salmon. He lives in town and helps anchor some really great music. So we've got a good scene down here.
Where are the other guys in the String Dusters? Are they kind of scattered? Or are they still in Nashville?
For the most part, they're in Denver. There's 2 guys in Denver, and 1 guy lives outside Denver on the top of a mountain.
Okay.
And then our guitar player lives in Long Island. That's where he grew up.
Okay. Cool. Talk to me about this new album you got, Toward the Fray.
Yeah, Toward the Fray. We recorded it during the pandemic. We got all the music together and did a marathon pre-production session of just working on the music in a room together out in Denver in August of 2020. 2020? Yeah.
Nobody knows.
So confusing. Such a time warp. Like it's 2022, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we're doing that now.
And yeah, and just, you know, we track live and we don't stress it too much. We do a lot of the work on the front end and get a good
way to do it, yeah.
Feel for how it's going to go. And
sure.
And I think we've made like 8 records, and, you know, we've probably played, I mean, who knows how many shows. We just like, we've made so much music together over the years that it is starting to get a real, there's sort of a real flow to how it goes down. So
right.
Went in the studio and we played through a song once or twice. I'll get back in the control room and listen down, get a little perspective, talk through a thing or two, maybe tweak the arrangement, and then go back in the booth and within 30 minutes have another 3 or 4 takes. And
okay. Yeah. Great.
And, you know, maybe a fix here or there. And that's what you get on the String Dusters records.
So then how many, with that kind of like speedy studio process, how long were you in the studio cutting the record then? A week, 2 weeks? We
were only there for, I think we did the entire thing in 7 days, maybe 8 days.
Okay. Yeah,
I think we did like 4 or 5 days. And then we did a weekend of shows, like live streamed from the Boulder Theater.
Okay.
And then went back into the studio and did like 3 more days and finished it up. I think we did some final vocals on our own.
Okay.
In home studios or sort of back in our home zones. But yeah, just tracking live and playing it, it take 17 is not going to be the take.
Yeah, I know.
And, you know, probably not for anybody.
No, I really think that there's a tipping point, and it all depends on the band, you know, and the whole energy of all the guys and all that stuff. But there's a tipping point where, like, at a certain point, it becomes counterproductive.
Oh yeah,
and you're just trying to like piece together, like, well, I like what I did back in take 13, but then on, you know, take 16, I like what I did here. Let me see if I can put those together. It doesn't sound natural, and the feel's not there, the energy's not there.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, so, you know, so much of playing music for me is just kind of like trying to be as in it and as present as I possibly can be at the moment, and then I can move on. And that's what, you know, live has always been. That's always been why I'm here, is to play music live. And recording it I'm only just starting to feel okay about how my process for recording and the entire, you know, the permanence of it all.
There's that.
I like to just play and be free.
Sure.
And it's hard to do that for me in the studio. you know, 'cause then I got to go back and listen to it.
Right.
And it's there forever. You know, they put that shit on the internet and it's there forever.
Well, man, and now it's like that with just every live gig. Everybody pulls out their phone.
So true.
And so now you're always in the recording studio because everybody's gonna record every gig you do. It's kind of obnoxious.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's so easy now to multi-track everything. Like I basically, you know, with all the String Duster shows are multi-tracked, and I do a weekly show here in Brevard at this local venue, and enough people kind of gave me a hard time about it that I finally, I got my buddy to come. He multi-tracks that show every week, you know, and I'm never going to go back and listen to that. Like, what am I ever going to do with all of this? Right. Like you gotta be kidding me. What the hell am I gonna do with all this shit? But you know, we've got it, and maybe at some point, like if anybody cares, there's gonna be something there, and if there anything really magical happens, you know, we'll have it. And it also has sort of, it's like, well, if it's always being recorded, then I kind of forget.
Right. Then that takes the pressure off too, because it's just part of the process. And all right, you know, especially if you don't go back and listen. I think that's where I'd really get inside my head if I went back and listened to everything I played all the time.
Yeah, sometimes we'll do these streaks on the road where we'll for a while there we had cameras all over. We put them on our instruments, and we put them all over the stage, and our monitor guy was running a switcher, and then we'd get on the bus and we'd watch the whole thing. and I mean, and we got better fast because we were seeing what was working and we were seeing what wasn't. And it also helped us realize there's a lot of stuff that we were stressing about that maybe wasn't quite as important as maybe we thought.
Okay.
And we learned a lot too about sort of the overall aesthetic of the band. I don't think we realized how much it was just like full on all the time.
What, energy wise? Yeah.
Yeah, just ripping all the time. And it's not that we changed that, but we just kind of became more aware of it. Like, okay, this is how this goes. You know, we're basically like, we're going to go up there and pretend like we're the, you know, it's like we're the String Dusters / Rolling Stones for 2 hours. Just crazy, you know?
Well, man, that's another thing. Like keeping that level of energy for that amount of time. What's your kind of pre-show ritual to prepare for that? Because I mean, just expending that much energy, physically, mentally, emotionally, to be in it for 2 hours straight of high energy. How do you prepare for that individually to kind of be able to just produce that much stamina?
Yeah, well, everybody in the band has sort of a different ritual, but there's definitely a lot of chilling out going on, and 4 of us will take a nap basically like every night before the show.
Sure.
Power nap before we have our big band meeting where we go through the music and go over what's going to be unique that night. We'll you know, we call it coffin time, where if we're on the tour bus, we crawl in that little bunk and it's like being in a coffin and the generator's humming along and you can get 30 minutes of just like motoring the brain down. And then a lot of times, you know, caffeine is still my favorite go-to. I don't give up any other drug, any alcohol, anything before I give up caffeine. So you get up and hit some caffeine and then start to really everybody gets really focused pretty quickly. There's not a lot of drinking that's going on. There's not a whole lot of, there's definitely some good vibes and some laughs, but for the most part, for the hour and a half leading up to the show, sort of after the meeting, after we've gone over the music, everyone is kind of in their own space, working on stuff. You know, I'll sing through the stuff I'm going to sing that night. I'll play scales, just play the bass to make it sound good.
Yeah.
Because once I get it plugged in, get in the room, and then put in the in-ears, my experience of the bass is going to really change. So I always find that like I tend to play better the more time I spend with it acoustically. Same thing with my voice too. If I play and sing, then when I go to when all the shit gets in between me and the experience, I've still sort of trained myself to be hearing it and feeling it that way. You know, I'm still attacking the bass like it's supposed to be played, you know, and just try to stay calm. And then, you know, set break for me is always a big bummer. I just want to keep rocking. It's like hitting pause. And I go backstage and I'm just kind of like, is anybody like, I guess maybe I'll have a drink. I don't know. Like, what do I do? What do I do?
It just happened to me Sunday. Like I play in this jazz duo, me and a guitar player on Sunday nights. And like, I remember feeling like the first hour we played was just crushing. Like me and the guitar player, we were just in it. Like everything was really creative and happening and swinging. And then we took the break. and I didn't have it, man. Like I was just like spent. I couldn't go back to it. I'm just like, I don't know. Like, yeah, it kind of all happened there, and I would have much rather just played for another half hour and stayed in it than having that break. It kind of hit reset or something. Like the pause took me out of it. That was brutal.
Sometimes it's a relief to have that because the band isn't quite jiving or someone's having a bad night.
Sure.
Or for whatever reason, maybe something was wrong with the sound when we started the set, whatever. You get out of that first set and you can be like, all right. This will get better. We can use the break. But for me, it's like if we're cooking,
yeah,
I don't want to stop cooking.
Yeah, let's just stay in it.
But I'm getting better at all that. After it's just like anything else. You just kind of get better and better and better at being what you need to be when you need to be it. And keeping perspective on stuff. Not getting bummed out about the performance. Just always oriented toward just being as sort of available to the muse as possible.
Right. You guys got some tour dates coming up starting later this month. Yeah, January 20th you start the tour.
Yeah, we're doing like 5 weeks over January and February, playing shows with our friends Green Sky Bluegrass, and they're putting out a record too, so that's going to be a lot of good energy on that tour. We're going to be psyched.
Sweet.
And then in April we go out and do another like 3 weeks up the West Coast on our own. I think we'll probably have some support on that, but that'll be a really nice tour. We'll start in Colorado and then work our way to California and all the way up to Seattle.
Yeah. I noticed that you're going to be in my neck of the woods on the 31st at the Wiltern. Yes. I'm definitely going to be there. I wanted to come check that out. I love that space. I love that theater.
Awesome. That's I'm glad to hear that. The place you make your music is really, it's relevant and it's important. Yeah. And it can really make things easier, and it can also, a space can also make things harder.
Sure.
And just sort of the general vibe of a venue is something that's really important to us. It's not the only thing that we're making decisions about, but it's like it seems so sort of obvious, and it's kind of like I'm getting off on a tangent here. There's like,
no, do it.
For bass players, there's like the saying, like trying to decide if you take a gig. Well, it's like how good are the people?
Sure.
How good is the music? Like, how's the hang? How's the music? And then how's the pay?
Right.
And then you can kind of work those if you've got at least two of those.
Right.
And and it's kind of the same. I think it can be sort of similar when we're trying to figure out kind of what gigs to play, what cities to go to, and what venues to work with.
Mm-hmm.
When we're there is like, we want to make ends meet, and we want to make as much money and get as many people in the door as possible. But like, how do we play for as many of the right people,
right,
in the best possible context, best possible location, whether that's the best club in town on the right night, or whether that's like a festival set, whatever it is. Like, and it's not just the most people, it's like the most of the right kind of people.
Right. Having like the very particular audience that's really gonna benefit from that. Like last time I was at the Wiltern specifically, I went to go see Wilco.
Oh wow!
And a friend of mine called me, and she had an extra ticket, so I went, and I thought it was a great place to see Wilco, because it's like the theater is full of Wilco fans. Yeah. Like everybody, and Wilco has that thing about them too. But it's kind of what you're saying. Like it was a very targeted. We're gonna play this theater. I don't even know what the cap at the Wiltern is, but whatever it is, it's full of Wilco fans, and these are the people that are gonna make the schlep to come check it out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's like when you step on stage at like Telluride Bluegrass Festival. I mean, those people, they want you to succeed. They want you, that audience just wants you to just soar. And so it makes it easy when you're on a stage like that to really take it over the top. And it's the same thing with a good venue and a good vibe in a venue. It makes the whole thing much more likely to really happen for everybody involved. It just makes the odds of it being a great night are better.
So when putting together the tour, do do you approach your tour manager or management with like, here's a list of venues we'd like to play, can you see if it's available? Or like, do you pick the venues, or do they come to you with options, like when you're in LA, here's like 3?
Yeah.
Or do you say like, actually I just want to play these ones? Like who initiates the venue selection?
That's a great question. That's sort of an ongoing conversation with the band as represented by me. That's sort of like my specialty in the band is the touring and the routing. Always has been. I'm sort of obsessed with how we spend our time because it's kind of the only thing that we've got.
Yeah, man, that's a heavy conversation in general, but yeah,
it matters to me, like where I spend my time, and then and then our agent, and our agent does a lot of he does like 90% of the hard work of identifying the right venue, having the relationship with the promoters, working out the routing. I'll help with the routing. That's something I really like to do, is look at a map and see. But making a decision, like we'll be on a phone call and I might be like, yeah, well, what if we move the tour around this way? We'll do 2 nights in this place. Instead of going to that market, let's maybe do this one twice, or let's play that smaller room in that market is better than this bigger one, and we'll be sure to sell it out. And maybe we'll tweak the ticket price a little bit to make the economics work, so that we're not leaving so much money on the table. And those people who get the show in the 400 cap room, that's going to be a better show than what we would have put on for 600 people in the 1,000 cap room.
Of course,
for whatever reason. And those are sort of decisions that we all kind of make. The 3 of us make together: manager, myself, and the agent. And then if there's anything at all that I don't feel like I can speak for the band, because if we walk into a situation and the band is not happy and they weren't notified, then I feel a lot of responsibility for that. So if I got any questions, like, I don't know if these guys are going to like this travel, that's something that comes up a lot, is like, we'll get a festival offer, or we'll get a festival offer and be like, guys, go online and check this out. It's like a little bit of a hay bale hillbilly picking thing, It's like a trailer with no top and just a bunch of
super backwoodsy.
It's like the money's good, but before you commit to it, like, maybe go take a look at the website. That's kind of my role, is letting the band have getting everybody on the same page, so that there's no surprises, and that we're spending as little time as possible driving around and wasting time, and as much time as possible playing great venues and great cities.
Yeah. Also on the tour, you're playing the Fillmore. Is this your first time playing at the Fillmore?
We've done the Fillmore probably 5 times, and that is the room for us.
Yeah.
We love that room, and we feel so sort of connected to the lineage of the music that came up in there, and the music of Jerry Garcia, and it's just a powerful spot. We love it.
Yeah. So on the kind of the back half of the tour you have coming up, Dust Bowl Revival is on some of those dates. I can't remember how or when I learned of them, but I've kind of known of them for a while. Now, I know you have a relationship with Green Sky Bluegrass, like a personal one. Do you have a personal relationship with Dust Bowl also?
We're not as tight with that family as we are with Green Sky. But the prospect of doing 2 weeks on the road with them, it should give us a really good opportunity to spend some time. And I have definitely I've seen them a lot at the Winter Wondergrass festivals that we often play, and we're playing that, I think, as part of this winter tour. And it's always been such a great band, and a really, really unique aesthetic. But I don't personally know them very well yet.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you'll have the time, like you said. You'll have the time. Yeah, exactly.
It'll happen.
You mentioned that you do a lot of the tour things. I don't want to say tour management, but you're part of that process. Does everybody in the band have a role? Does someone deal with merchandising? Does someone deal with this? Have you guys kind of parceled that out?
That used to be sort of the case when we first started the band. One guy would sort of spearhead conversations with management. Another guy was sort of more in charge of making sure the merchandise was done. There was a guy who was sort of like more of like the tour manager, would handle booking, hotels, logistics, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
One guy was sort of more of an expert when it came to sound. He would sort of talk to the house sound guy and, work our in-ear rig, that kind of thing. Over time, as we've been able to hire crew, most of those jobs have gone away.
Okay. Yeah.
Like we have a full-time merch person. We have 2 guys on the, that are doing sound.
Yeah.
We have a tour manager,
Sure.
And so a lot of those jobs have sort of fallen by the wayside. So now those guys get to chill.
Yeah. The great.
And those of us, it's great for them.
Yeah.
But booking is still one of those things. You kind of, with a band, you can kind of, at least in my experience with our band, is you kind of choose your own level of engagement, and you can be as kind of in or out of any aspect of the business that you want to be. All you got to do is just sort of raise your hand, ask some questions, get involved, but then silence is consent. So if you're not saying anything, you're down with whatever is going on.
Yeah. Right. Regularly, is the band pretty much always on the same page? We're like, someone will bounce off an idea and everybody's like, yeah, that's fine.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. I mean, we love to debate stuff in the van and still relish those minivan rides where we all pack in and the 5 of us drive 6 hours between a gig and talk about everything.
Yeah. There's a nice like coming of age story that's all a part of that. Yeah.
It's like a Disney movie.
Yeah.
We have a great workflow, and we've grown more similar to each other, as we've spent all this time together. So it gets easier for us to have sort of a collective consciousness about what to do.
Mm-hmm. Writing wise, do you guys all write together, or are there kind of members of the band that are more of the writers that bring material in and then you guys shape it as a band?
The band, we all write, and we all will bring seeds of ideas, parts of songs. We'll all bring that stuff to the table and to the rehearsal sessions, and then really bringing stuff into form, arranging, creating the sound and the feel of these tunes. That's all a collaborative process that happens just real naturally with the 5 of us in a room, playing through things, trying ideas, seeing how it fits, seeing how things fit, writing signature lines, changing melodies around, making suggestions about harmonies. All that stuff happens all together. But generally we're coming up with stuff kind of on our own.
Okay.
When we're on our own time, and then bringing those ideas to the table.
Cool.
Develop.
What can listeners expect on this new record, that maybe how the band sound has changed or grown? How is this record any different than previous records as far as soundscape or approach or concept?
Yeah, this record has a really clear. It was just it's the last 5 years have been kind of. It's just there's been a lot going on, and a lot of stuff happening on the cultural level that is harder and harder. Everything is, the Trump era was pretty in your face and very kind of intense, and you couldn't really opt out of the conversation because it was just kind of everywhere. And out of that came, that the whole Me Too movement was really eye-opening for a lot of people, and it was certainly like eye-opening for the 5 of us. And then sort of on the heels of that, the Black Lives Matter, which is I think sort of essentially kind of an extension of the same conversation about this sort of disenfranchisement and exploitation of other people in our culture. And as middle-aged white guys, a lot of what was happening culturally was sort of forcing us to grapple, with our role in all of this. And we all of us were really, we were kind of lucky that we were all feeling like really sort of like touched and it all kind of came home to roost for us, not that there were just the subtle ways that all of these things manifest in our culture and how we're all sort of a part of it. So a lot of what we started writing about was kind of a response to that. And then we fell, then we fell into the whole COVID era, which, then that's sort of like sealed the deal on, this, it was sort of like the same thing that was happening on a political level than happened for us all worldwide on a personal level, which was that you couldn't just stand by and not participate. Any action was your participation in it.
Sure.
If you decided to go out, even if you decide to stay home, if you decide to not engage in the culture, if you hide from it, that's affecting the way that this all works, right?
Right.
So
if you engage, I mean, it's very similar to the phrase you used, what the silence was omission or agreement or something like.
Consent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's the same thing. Like, no matter what your stance about, let's take just COVID. Is you're automatically in agreement with it by staying quiet or whatever your thing is about it. Everybody is now, there's an allegiance to one side of the fence or the other. And even
inaction is an action, right? If you decide to do nothing about the virus, that's totally your option, but that like inaction is an action. And that sort of realization, like, all right. And that's where I think that's where the song and the title of Toward the Fray comes from. Like, even like look around the environmental issues, the way that women and minorities are still treated in our culture, the vast inequalities that we're experiencing, the vast consolidation of wealth at the top. This is the shit, and it is happening now. The polar caps are melting. It was 75 degrees here on Christmas Day in North Carolina. Yeah. Like, hello, it's happening right now. And so there is no inaction is action. And so we were all, it's like the record is a little bit kind of in your face in the same way that it is all kind of in our face right now. There's no avoiding this, so
Agreed.
So the topics that we're covering, the things we're writing about, it all feels much more, I've spent a lot of time wanting to write music that was really uplifting and wanting to try to orient myself toward the light and toward positivity. And that's still my orientation, basically, because I'm a very optimistic person and hopeful, and I love to smile and enjoy myself, right? But there is kind of no denying that we're in the shit. And so even those songs that I brought to the table that were still sort of in line with wanting to kind of set a hopeful vibe are still a pretty stark look at the situation that we're in. And then I'm in, even like, songs I'm writing while I'm in like the first 2 months of the pandemic. That's this record is a whole lot more raw and a whole lot more honest, I think, than anything we've done before.
Okay. I mean, I think both of the things you just mentioned are responsibilities of the artist. One, to mirror society so that people can see, maybe what's going on, or frame it in a new way that people can get perspective on it. But it's also can be an escape too. Like while this is awful and it's happening, there's still this, so music and art in general has both sides to it. And I think the role of the artist is it's a delicate balance maybe of when to hold up the mirror and then when to be like, okay, that's enough. Let's take a breather, know?
Yep.
Because both have their place. And I do think it's a responsibility. And I mean, I used to kind of have this rant about so much of the music I was hearing wasn't reflecting the culture and didn't have something to say about what was going on. And then I used to talk to other musician friends and I'm like, what is that? And then how the conversation would go is like, well, maybe that is it. We live in this super technology infused culture that, humanity is taking a back seat to the robots. And that's how music is reflecting that, right now. And I'm like, well, it's kind of bullshit. Like we're still here. We're the ones that can make decisions for the robots. And that's, again, another heavy topic. But Um, I think that's amazing that you guys took the liberty and the place of the artist to do that, to address the things. Did you feel an innate responsibility in doing that as a band, or is that just kind of what came out when the world was flipping upside down?
I think that that's mostly just kind of what came out. I mean, I when the pandemic started, I started doing a show. I was able to get friends to come and we'd do a live stream. And I started this show. It's called the Travis Book Happy Hour, and I would play some music, and then I would because I was working like I was doing like Instagram Live, trying to reach out to people and be just try not to go crazy in like
Sure.
the first few months. And I realized that there was a little bit of an audience. People were feeling really disconnected from each other. So I started the show and started inviting friends to come out, and I'd interview them, play some music, wax philosophical on a few things, and then we'd play together. We'd play 8 or 10 songs together, sort of a collaborative mode. And a lot of the tone of that show and the things I was talking about on that show was it was very much sort of like you say, like sort of riding this line of being sort of honest about where we were and honest about how I was feeling, and then also trying to sort of awaken some degree of compassion for the predicament that we were in.
Mm-hmm.
That there's a lot of people feeling really strongly and really differently about a lot of things right now, and there's a lot of fear, and it's a big scary world right now, and that's okay. It's okay to be. Just trying to, I think part of what artists are. Part of what we're here as songwriters to do is to help create space for people to be to feel these things that they need to feel.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes be the voice that for them in different.
Sometimes I need to cry, and I'm gonna need a song to do it, because I'm not gonna put myself there on my own.
Sure.
And when that song comes on and it does the thing that it's supposed to do, it's the best. It's the best feeling. It's a feeling of relief, and it's a feeling of being connected to sort of the universal, and these things that we all feel, and these questions that we all grapple with, and these fears that we all have to some degree or another. That's when the music is really, for me, that's when it's really doing the thing.
Sure. Sure. No, I completely agree. I mean, there's and maybe you get asked this question, regularly about like what you're listening to now or whatever. I mean, it's so much of, for me, is depending on mood for that reason. Like, where am I at right now? Like, kind of get in touch with myself. And now what do I want to do with that? Do I want to go down that rabbit hole with music and really dive in head first? Or do I want to check out of it for a little bit? And like, all right, well, let me just go this way and I'll come back to that. That's still there. So where do I need to go, and where do I want music to fit into that? And sometimes I'll go all the way in, and then, I'm crying listening to Randy Newman. Or other times I just go the other direction all the time and put on, another one of my favorite records and just feel good and get out of it.
Yeah.
I think both have a strong place.
Totally, man. All music, just about all, it seems like all music has got its place. I just, the older I get, the more sort of forgiving and compassionate I am about my own shortcomings in it's like, is music, it's always a question of like, do I just not get it? Like, is this not resonating with me because it's somehow deficient, or am I deficient because I'm not like, and that's okay. And it's okay for me to be deficient. It's okay for me to like not be able to listen to whatever it may be, for it to not work on me.
The word deficient, I feel like, is interesting. I think one of the best ways I've heard it put, this was like, I think a junior in high school or something. Dude sitting next to me in math class was listening to like some hip hop or rap. And then I was sitting next to this jock guy who loved rock music, and back in the 90s, and, everything was very kind of segregated by the music you listened to. And so the rock guy is giving the hip hop guy a hard time, and the hip hop guy just looks at him. He's like, dude, it's all the same, just different people in different places. Yeah. And that really stuck with me. And so when I think that maybe I'm not identifying with something, that's just a culture I don't have, I can't tap into. It doesn't mean I don't get it or appreciate it on some level, but I'm like I'm a white kid from Phoenix, so there's music out there that's just not gonna land on me, and that's all right. That's fine.
There's so much music, and it's all cool that it's like, rhythm and melody is cool.
Yeah.
And whether it works on you or not is less consequential,
Yeah.
than it existing at all, and like someone
Right.
exploring the space.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild.
Yeah, man. Travis, thanks so much, man.
Yeah, of
Look
course.
forward to checking out the full record that drops February 18th.
February 18th. Yep, we start tour right as that's coming out. It's gonna be great, man. Toward the Fray, we're psyched. I'm really optimistic about this next year and the next decade, and I think the world's a weird place, and it's gonna be a total trip and a wild ride. But I'm glad that I'm alive and gonna get to check out what's coming. What's coming down the bend. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be a good year, and it's hopefully gonna be a great decade. And oh man, life goes on.
Yeah, exactly. There's always that. Like we'll be okay. We've always kind of been okay.
Yeah,
we've always been okay. So
totally.
We'll keep being okay.
We'll just keep listening and just keep playing, and it'll be fine.
Cool, man. Dude, March 31st, I'm gonna come say hello. I'll be there.
Awesome. Be in touch. Love to see you.
All right, dude. Thanks a lot, Travis.
Thanks, man. Have a good one, man.
Peace. You too.
All right. That was my talk with Travis Book of the infamous String Dusters. That's right, infamous String Dusters. New record, Toward the Fray, drops February 18th, 2022. I'm excited to hear the whole record. I'm excited to go see him at the Wiltern. If you're in the Los Angeles area, join me at checking them out at the Wiltern Theater. Otherwise, go to their website, check out their tour dates, see what's near you, and stop in and check out the band and check out the music that's going to be on this new record, Toward the Fray. If you are enjoying the Bass Shed podcast, please subscribe on whatever platform you are listening to it on. It is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and now Amazon. Amazon is taking over the world, and the Bass Shed podcast is a part of that machine. So stop by, check it out, hit subscribe. Any questions, any comments, hit me up, ryan@thebassshed.com. And that's about all I got for this one, folks. I will catch you on the next one in a minute.